So, hi, how long have you played Airsoft?
I've been playing Airsoft for around the 15-year mark. But within those years of playing, I got to see the evolution of the technology and all the guns. Gas blowback changed. HPA is now better. AEG's got better. Sourcing out gear and equipment got even more and more easier. Even sourcing out items like IR lights and lasers, those are even easier to find. Running night vision, you can now source that out. And within 15 years, you'll see the evolution of what you're doing from day one that you first started till the present day of today. If you stay into something that long and pay attention to its evolution and how things are changing and how the gear and equipment have evolved. When I started Airsoft, a lot of guys were still wearing Alice gear. Multicam was considered like Gucci. Not everyone could afford it. Now you can find any piece of kit, any type of gun, and there are hundreds, thousands of videos on YouTube on anything on Airsoft.
So, Daryl, why do you like Airsoft?
That's a good question. It's hard to answer it, but I worked here, and one day it was I think late October, and I had a bad week. I got pissed off at a lot of things, and I did not want to be here to ref that weekend. And sure enough, I was given the task to ref some kids, which I called babysitting because I was not in the mood. These kids had airsoft guns, and as their ref, I took them to the fields to play because we didn't know them well enough. And I asked one of those kids, "Can I try your gun?" And he's like, "Go ahead." And I took a few shots. I thought that was cool. It was a P90, so I didn't know how to work the select fire. He's like, "Here," and he puts it into the full auto. Now shoot the whole magazine at this oil drum, and I emptied the whole thing, and I looked at it, looked at the kid, and I asked, "How much was this, and where can I get one?" And throughout the winter, I started watching a lot of airsoft videos from Europe and a couple from Japan. And then when the spring came, I bought my first AEG, which was a G&G combat machine. The all plastic MK18 looking version of that.
Oh, nice.
And ever since then, I never stopped. I passed up a lot of opportunities, but at the same time, because my time and money was spent on Airsoft, I also lost the desire to want to hang out with people that they did a lot of bad things like drinking and drugs. So the more I came here hanging out with these kids that got me in Airsoft, I cut myself away from all those people that were bad from my life. And this is pretty much the only thing I've done. And it's still probably one of the few things I actually enjoy. And so far, it's been fun.
Oh yeah.
What's your next question?
I also really enjoy Airsoft as a sport. It's a good cardio. It's also really good for body. So my next question gonna be, if you could have only one best piece of advice for Airsoft beginners, and what will it be?
Judging from all my years of playing, all the people I've seen come and go, the biggest piece of advice I could probably give to any new guy, and it's the hardest thing you're ever gonna do, and that's to show up and play. I've met people who've been kind of crap talking me for the past 15 years, saying, "Oh, I'll come out and play, I'll beat you, I'll come out." Well, you know where I am, but for a new guy, the easiest and the hardest thing you can do is to show up and play.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then come back.
Yeah.
And then keep coming back. And then it's now autumn. And now you're spending the winter looking at gear and guns and videos. And then next season you show up again, and then it turns into years. And the next best advice is, do not come with a winning attitude. You can win every video game you play, It's different when you have to wear the gear, carry all the magazines, carry a fully kitted up gun, because it's different in a video game where you have a controller or a keyboard or mouse. But when you have to physically run kilometers at a milsim, like we've calculated at some of these big games, we are running almost 30 to 40 kms of movement within a weekend. So come to Airsoft with a learning attitude. Come to Airsoft with an attitude to want to learn, and don't have that know-it-all attitude, because when I got into Airsoft, I never touched my hop-up on my gun for about a year. So I didn't know what that was. And even after all these years, I still use 0.25 gram BBs, which is laughable to most people, but it's your environment where you play that BBs do have a factor. So playing in the bush a lot, I run light BBs. And as a new guy, take whatever gun you could afford at the time and run with it and master it. Because I see a lot of guys who play one match, next weekend or next month they come back with HPA, or they come back with a very expensive gun and don't know how to use it, because they wanted to win instead of asking questions and wanting to learn.
So next question gonna be, if you could make only one modification to your stock AEG to make it shoot more accurately, what would it be?
Okay, that's a really good question, because I'm noticing a huge thing with a lot of gun companies that some guns come overly lubricated, where there's too much oil or there's too much grease, and that's gonna have accuracy problems or distance problems. If they're under greased and under lubricated, you're gonna have the same issues. So the best modification to any gun is to keep it lubricated and to keep the inner barrel clean, because there's a lot of stock guns I've worked on, and after they've been properly re-lubed, they're shooting better than they were when they came from the factory.
Thank you so much. And the last question is, which is your favorite Airsoft gun?
That's a good question too, because guns come and go, but my most favorite one was probably my KWA MP7, because everything on that gun I sourced out to be waterproof.
Wow.
And I field tested the gun that it could be submerged in water. I found the right grease that won't wash out, and it will still keep the gun cycling when there's water coming out of it. So you could swim with it, come out of water and fire it, and the gun worked. And I shot that gun until I wore out a lot of the internals. I broke the body when I almost broke my ribs because I slipped on a wet board. But that was probably my most favorite gun, because before I got my MP7, I was shooting a lot of full auto, and I only carried like 4 or 5 magazines at the time. And at the end of every match, we'd have to come reload because we mag dumped everything. So when I got my MP7, I had to stop using full auto and start thinking smart and relying on semi-auto. And after a few years of running a gas blowback, when I went back to AEG, now my mentality changed. That because of running almost a realistic weapon system where when I run out of ammo, I had to actually hit the bolt release and rack the charging handle, disassemble it, clean it, blah, blah, blah. But after my time with the MP7, I went back to AEG. I stopped using full auto and I started using only semi-auto only. And the MP7 taught me to be smarter and more patient with only 40 rounds of mag. And so going back to AEG, I brought that same mentality back, and that's what made me a smarter and better player. So that was my favorite gun, was my KWA MP7.
Thank you so much. That's really good answer. So just like lastly, could you do a quick introduction to our gun?
This is a VFC HK416D. This is the Asia edition. Sadly, the gearbox cracked immediately after a weekend of playing. So internally, it's got a Crytek gearbox. It has a Paron V2 hybrid MOSFET with a Warhead brushless motor, a max hop unit. Yes, it actually works. And I believe I have a ZCI 6.2 inner diameter. That's a 285 millimeter. And then for night games, the IR on this laser actually works. So I can run it with nods. This is a real EOTech XPS3. So for night games, I remove my 3x magnifier and I put on a small Unity riser to run this with my night vision.
Can you just open up the dust cover, show us the pop-up real quick?
Hold on, I can show you like this.
Oh yeah.
And here's a max hop-up that people say don't work. Well, it actually works.
And what map do you use for your max hop-up?
Right now I'm using a blue G&G hop rubber with the fork. The forks on it that do that. And I'm using the orange Quantum hop. When you buy the Quantum hop-up rubber, you get a nub with it. So I'm using the nub with a G&G rubber.
Oh yeah.
And this is the ZCI inner barrel.
Maybe I'm a cow. Maybe I'm God. They literally shake it around a bit. I was like,
Here we go.